Hi Laura, Michelle Pierce here with observation number 5. Again this week I used one of my students to look at communication. And I did kind of had some challenges with our speech therapist, so I worked during that time with speech therapy. I'm going to do my best to give kind of a summary of that with leaving my feelings about what was happening on the side as much as possible. But so my class has a speech therapy assistant. So she has an undergraduate degree in speech therapy, not her master's. And I really enjoy her as a person. She's kind of got some challenges when it goes with working with kids on the spectrum. So we were doing, at the beginning of the year, I let her know that we had to have a schedule and some visuals for everything. And so when she comes in, she brings in a schedule that has 5 tasks on it. They're not, it's really just numbered 1 through 5 to give kids kind of an idea of how many things they'll have to do. And then this week she was doing the sentence, I eat blank. And so there were picture cards and there were photographs. Now I've got some information about kind of all of my students is what was happening. But I was specifically watching one kiddo that I have some strategies that have worked well with communication that are not being necessarily followed with in speech. So I was kind of keeping an eye on him. His name is, well, I'm going to call him Dash because he's speedy. So his name is Dash, and when he walked in, he had come back from the restroom. I was sitting kind of at the back of the room. My teaching assistant had taken him to the restroom, and as soon as he saw speech, he screamed and threw himself on the floor. I think that, talking about communication, behavior is always communicative, and so that gives a little bit of information. Again, the goal of the lesson was kind of 3-word sentences, and in my class, this lesson was done with 9 students, all on the spectrum. I have everything from Dash being virtually nonverbal. In fact, he's not virtually. He does not have any meaningful vocalizations. He is able to communicate in other ways, but not verbally. To kids that don't stop talking all day, that are hyperverbal. So I'm not quite sure why this was the goal, but again, I'm going to try to leave my opinions about that off. So when it was Dash's turn to look at the visual supports of it's kind of a board maker symbol for I and a board maker symbol for eat, and then it was a photograph of ham. So it was holiday foods was the idea, and so he was supposed to say I eat ham. He did not actually do anything at all. He kind of pointed to the fact that there was a visual in front of him, but he is able to imitate signs, and he is able to access pictures, and there were not really any opportunities for him to do that. He instead began to make loud growling sounds. Another student began to cry and rock and scream, and I think a lot of the behaviors I was seeing really speaks to the difficulty with communication and the frustration with the communication demands. So this kiddo attended to a toy in his hand, but not to any instruction, and with the amount of waiting that was happening, there was not really any kind of redirection or the therapist just never really got his attention. So this was a really challenging, kind of a challenging view on communication as far as, really with the neurotypical population needing to adjust their behavior to reach students with autism spectrum disorders. I did comment a little bit on the fact that Dash is using a core board, core language communication, which is something that is new to us, but is new to me professionally. But I'm working with our assistive technology department on Really Learning that has lots and lots of cool words on it. And then he also wears a necklace that has his name and a symbol for himself that has a very basic request, like I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I need to use the restroom. And those were things we taught him right away at the beginning of the year, and he was able to pick up on those communication devices very quickly. We also have kind of rich photographs and picture symbols throughout the classroom that he is able to access and bring to a person in a kind of modified PECS form. So he's got far greater communication abilities than is actually being shown at the speech therapy time. So that's what we got today, and that was over 2 speech therapy sessions that I saw really very little communication from my students and from this kid in particular, and would love any feedback on any ideas on how to kind of coach other professionals that are working with my kids that should have much greater knowledge than they do. So kind of a frustrating observation sessions this week, but I look forward to doing one more with needed supports for a kiddo that I'm going to do some work with in Gen Ed and really reflect on those things. And I've really enjoyed this time to be intentional with my work. So thanks a lot, and see you again sometime later this week. Bye.